Yeah, okay. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Through this or just through my voice? Through this. So I'm Jeff Chapin. I'm a co-founder and the head of product at Casper. And I'll get into a little bit what Casper is. And I'd point out that I'm like physical product designer, not, I know in this, I'm kind of new to this world. I didn't realize product was co-opted by graphic designers and UI designers. So I found out when I was trying to recruit some product designers, and I got all resumes from UX designers. So I'm going to talk today about, not about bits, but about atoms and molecules and the physical products that we design. And so I was asked to give a bit more of a tactical, functional talk. So I'll give a little bit of background on Casper, but I really want to talk about point of view and how we use it at Casper to influence our whole business, and how specifically in the design of the products that the product that we sell, how important it's been in the success we've had to date, and I think what we'll continue to do in the future. So how many people here have heard of Casper? Okay. So some haven't. So for those that don't know, we're e-commerce, direct-to-consumer company that's focused on sleep. Our first product that we sell is this mattress, and that mattress is packed into that box in a factory in Georgia, and then it's distributed to people throughout the US and Canada, either via UPS or in New York City, just for New York City, via courier, either bike courier or car courier. That mattress then you take up to your apartment, you unpack it, and then you eat a popsicle on it. So if you're lucky to be as handsome as he is, we'll include you in our next photo shoot. So that is all purchased through our website. We don't have any, you can come to our showroom on Bond Street, but there's no actual exchange of money there. It's all done through a website, and it's actually easy to design a website where you only sell one thing. So I want to talk about point of view, and I'm going to give very cliche examples of what a point of view is in physical product design, because it should be very obvious what I'm talking about. So these are three things: the first iPhone, the first Android phone. The left two images, the iPhone and the BlackBerry, have a very distinct point of view on how you should interact and input data into that phone. Obviously, it was a huge leap for Apple to go to a touchscreen-only keyboard, and the first Android phone was very confused in what it was trying to do, because they had a little bit of both. Another example here, this is a very traditional thermostat and a digital thermostat, and there's a certain method of interacting with a traditional thermostat, and then we essentially transported a way of interacting with thermostat you would more associate with a computer or a calculator for this digital thermostat. And obviously Nest returned us back to where we were, and it's very simple, the physical interaction. If I want it to be warmer, I turn it clockwise. If I want it to be cooler, I turn it counterclockwise. Obviously the Nest thermostat has a lot more going on behind the scenes and through deeper menus, but in essence, the physical device here has changed all of the UI and stuff that you can do with the device. So these two companies, Apple, Android, BlackBerry, Nest, have very distinct point of views on how you should interact with the physical device, and that carries through all of the other things they're doing with their UI. And I don't know which is chicken or egg, which came first. I think with the Nest, they probably said, we really want this device to be simple and back to traditional form. But anyhow, that's in my opinion what point of view is. You have to have a strong point of view. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Casper's point of view, how we arrived to it, how it influences our business, and then specifically dive down into the physical design or the industrial design of the mattress itself and why it looks the way it does. So I don't know how many people saw our Subway ads. We did a brand train campaign recently, and that tagline is our point of view. We believe we sell one perfect mattress, and that carries through everything in our business. I'll get into all of the things that it influences, but that it allows us, it informs the physical product we design, how we message through PR and marketing. It impacts our supply chain. It impacts our manufacturing. There's a lot of benefits to doing that, and there's a lot of reasons why we did just that. And I'll say, when we started the business like a year and a half ago, we didn't have that as our point of view. We got there through research and through design and through iteration. So in order to get to a point of view, this is the process we went through. We spent a lot of time looking at the competition. So I presume most everybody in the room has been in a store like this. There's a bunch of mattress retailers throughout the country. There tends to be a sea of beds that are very confusing, very different price points. You can't price compare from one store to another. And so we saw that as a user or user experience problem. We looked at the products. This is a very successful product that's sold more units in the last 2 years than any other type of bed on the market. But if you look at the design of this thing, they're giving you a lot of cues around more is better. So there's a lot of gratuitous details in the corners and the labeling and the texturing of the surface that are not necessary and that are very common in the design of mattresses. And essentially, the more you spend, the more gratuitous detail you get, which doesn't actually affect anything about your sleep. We looked at the marketing. So again, this is common. There's a lot of really deep discounting on mattresses, which is only because there's some enormous markups on mattresses. And it's very loud marketing. There's not a lot of subtlety or nuance to what they're doing here. We looked at branding. So this was a brand that was developed actually specifically to target millennials. And it's the only other brand the only brand we saw in the market that was targeted towards that segment. Most mattresses are targeted to baby boomers because most of the margin is in higher priced mattresses. And it's funny if you look at it, because whether you like the design or not, there's a lot of similarities between, this bed is more similar to what we designed than the one I showed previously, because this is a very simple, it's a, never mind the logo and stuff, but the actual mattress itself is single, like monocolor, very little pattern. It's really a simple object. We also, so in addition to the competitive research, we did a lot of, and my background, I worked for a decade at IDEO, so I'm like very steeped in the design thinking, let's go talk to users process. We did spend a fair amount of time talking with users a little bit later in the process than I had normally done in the past. And there's essentially two buckets of things that we found. One is very heavily hinted at through the competitive research, was that users hate the mattress shopping experience. They don't like being in the store. They don't like interacting with the salespeople. They have buyer's remorse that you get the mattress home and you're not quite sure if it is the same thing you bought in the store, or it feels different. Maybe you should have bought something else. You generally feel ripped off. So that's the initial feedback you get. The initial feedback you get is not about the product. And then you dig a little bit deeper and you get feedback around the product that it is, depending on the materials, it can sleep too hot, you can get stuck in it, it's bad for sex, or it's too bouncy so that you can feel your partner moving. So you have to dig deeper to get that. The actual people's first reaction is to the experience. And so we knew we had to address that in building out our company. We also look, and my background is actually in engineering, so we also looked a lot at what was possible to make. We really wanted to make a product here in the United States for many reasons. And so we had to go see what was available. We were a startup, so we had no revenue, so very few people would talk to us. So we had to really look at what was available and what we could bring together. And then we had to look at supply chain issues. So this is obviously later stage, so these are beds being shipped out of our factory. And the fact that we sell one product and every bed size fits in that same size box has a lot of benefits to us from a supply chain side. So there's just so many efficiencies that we gain from having a single object versus if we had multiple beds which fit in multiple size boxes. So to go a little deeper into how we developed the actual mattress itself, and both from a functional and form standpoint. So I mentioned before, we decided just to sell one mattress. And one of the things that came out of all that previous research was that people don't actually want the variety of choice that is offered to them. Most people are fairly comfortable on a hotel mattress. We did a bunch of user testing, people really narrowed down on the same comfort level of mattress. And so we theorized that about 95% of people would like the same thing. And that was the big gamble. Obviously there's a lot of benefits to there on the branding and the PR and the messaging and the supply chain. And it was a gamble. If we had gambled wrong and only 80% of people liked it, we'd get 20% returns and we'd be out of business. And we offer a super generous return policy of you get to try the bed for 100 days, and if you don't like it, we'll come get it for free. And that's how we've replaced the in-store trial experience. So this became our point of view. We had to design to this. So what do? We sampled a bunch of materials. We built up a bunch of different types of beds. I know a lot of you guys do A/B testing. A/B testing is a lot harder with physical products. But we actually, with our early beta testers, we would build like queen or king beds, which were halvesies. So it would be half one firmness and construction on one side and half on the other side. So you could try out the same bed next to each other. It's very hard. Like if I'm trying to test do I like this tomato soup or that tomato soup, I can test this one and then test that one. If do you sleep better on this bed than that bed, it's really hard to compare because you have to sleep at least one night and then you move to the next one, and maybe you had too much caffeine one day versus the other day. So it was a very hard thing to A/B test. But we managed to put out enough prototypes and get enough feedback that we could narrow down to a construction that we liked. In the beginning, we're testing form. So this is a mattress that we made, and one of our co-founders slept on it for a while. He eventually gave it to his little sister because he really hated it. This is, we were doing all this pre-funding, and we didn't find a single investor who would give us a dime before they slept on a bed. And nobody would let us throw away their old bed before they tried it. So this is our two other partners delivering a bed to Ben Lair's house. And this is his bed that we had to drive to a storage facility to hold just in case he didn't like the one that we gave him. And he still sleeps on it today, which is amazing because it's not the final prototype. It's just a bunch of layers of foam, not even glued together. They're just kind of sandwiched together. But I think he conceived his child on that bed, which is amazing. And then form. So a mattress is a funny thing because for the most part, your form is somewhat divorced from your function, which is unique in the product world. It's like you have a core and then you have a skin around it. And so we had a lot of freedom in what we could do with form on this. And I'll get to this metaphor before, but we used this metaphor of a cappuccino or a latte in the design of the bed. So there are a few things we were trying to achieve. The one you see here is we really wanted to turn the mattress more into a piece of furniture than to a mattress. Furniture tends to be a more cherished and beloved item in your house than a mattress. It's something you might show off or share with friends. It's a more considered purchase. And so in the construction of the bed, you see, I'll show a picture at the end, but you'll see there's cues you get more from furniture than you get from a traditional mattress. So the rounded corners, the textile we use on the border, some of the piping we use around the top of the bed, those are more furniture cues than they are mattress cues. And I would none of this was linear, so we were doing this while we were doing research. And so these were some of the original metaphors or directions we pursued. So the patch was the notion of an elbow patch on a corduroy jacket. We looked at piping, really heavily accented piping, which is really a retro styling. And you'll see renderings of what these ended up being. And then cup. And this is where we ended up choosing for reasons I'll get into. But this was essentially the metaphor of that cappuccino where you have this strong strong structural exterior, and then this soft, kind of welcoming, foamy top, which is the design direction we went with. So those are like the further developed renderings of what we had considered, and we obviously went the direction of the third one, and then had to make that real. So this is a rendering of the mattress that we have. Some things are impossible to do, like getting the screen printing on the textile was nearly impossible, and so we changed some of these things in design. And then there's a lot of iteration. This is one of the reasons we manufacture in the US, because we spent a lot of time going back and forth to South Carolina, where these covers are sewn, to do the development, working through details with their lead sewers. A lot of details around, like, this is our first product, and we're trying to build a brand that's more than just about mattresses. And so how we represent our brand on the mattress became a really important point of discussion for us. And you can see we considered just using the C logo. We were looking at white versus the blue color, which we've adopted. And in the end, we adopted really the most pure version of our logo, which is the blue flag, which sits on the side of the bed. You can see it's a little hard to see here, but there's like a black piping there, which we considered, that made the mattress look a little bit too sporty. We really were trying to design a mattress that would appeal to everyone. And so we went with a similar type piping to the border fabric. We considered some gimmicky things. So like, would you put a cell phone pocket on the side of the bed? And that became inconsistent with what we were trying to do, which was really boil down this mattress to its most core aesthetic. So if you want to have like the one singular mattress, you don't really want to add a lot of gimmick to it. And these are things which we seriously considered. And we're like, well, we shouldn't really be doing those things. And really boil down the mattress to its most basic, pure form. And then this is obviously what we ended up with. And in this quest to create the one perfect mattress, it was critically important that we got a bed that was both comfortable for nearly everyone and had an aesthetic that would be acceptable to everyone. Not everyone likes this aesthetic, but it's not off-putting. And it's a funny thing to say, like, we don't want to sell 10 different aesthetic versions of the mattress, which would appeal to multiple different tastes out there in the market. We had to find something that was appealing to most people. And there's some benefits to what we have here. So this white plane at the top surface of the mattress has very little texture to it. And it kind of creates, in our photography, it's nearly always set against a dark background, so that white plane pops. And in our marketing material, we talk a lot about a sleep surface versus a mattress and what are the benefits of the sleep surface. And the industrial design of the product helps support that marketing messaging. In our photography, we actually never show anybody sleeping on the mattress. They're always doing some other activity. And so we're essentially, that's a part of our messaging around that. We recognize that people use a mattress for many other different types of activities in their life. And we've kind of created this kind of sanctity of a space, which is that white plane where they can do that activity on. And yeah, I think that's my last slide. The last thing I'd say, and particularly because I guess most of you guys are digital, one of the things that I struggle with very much within my company is like this notion of a lean startup and minimum viable product. And I think for us on the physical product side at Casper, we actually have the opposite thing. We cannot, and I don't know how many other people have this experience in a physical product company, we can't launch and change this. Like, it had to be like a maximum product when we launched it, because people are spending a lot of money. It's supposed to last 10 years at least, and we can't make it better. Like, there's tiny little improvements we do, but we don't have a chance to go back and update the firmware and make it a little better. It had to be really good the minute we started selling it. And if we made today, if we were like, oh crap, there's this thing we could do which would make it 50% better, we'd probably do it, but we'd get a ton of flack, because that meant everybody that bought the mattress in the last year bought like a second-rate version of what's on the market now. And so I think it's one of the challenges, I think, of building physical products in a world where people are used to being able to always update and improve a digital experience. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we actually have a couple minutes for Q&A. So just to kick things off, I'm curious. So you have the showroom that lets people demo it in person.
Yeah.
How did you think about redesigning the in-person experience? And I ask in part because there's a lot of online-only brands in the startup world that we see opening up, flagship locations at Soho, like Bonobos or Birchbox.
Yeah. We saw that general success of a company that, like the Warbies and Bonobos, it's been a very successful strategy to have limited flagship retail mixed with online. We also saw some of the things that didn't work very well. Like, I don't mean to offend, but when you go to Bonobos and can't walk away with a pair of pants, it's kind of irritating. Even though this is a large thing, people can walk away with it if they want. Almost nobody in New York City does. In LA, which is a car culture, we just opened a showroom there. People actually will leave with the bed because they put it in their trunk and drive away with it. So there's a little bit of difference there. When we thought about the design of that retail experience, and you'll see, if you come to New York, we're on the second floor. It's like a walk-up space. It's an apartment that we've turned in the bedroom, like the master bedroom is where you try it out. It's not traditional retail. LA is like in the Hollywood Hills, and it's just a house that sits in a neighborhood. It takes some effort to get there, but it's not like on Abbot Kinney downtown in LA. We really wanted to create a more relaxing home environment for them to try this out, because our intention was not to create a retail sales experience, but a very comfortable come hang out. And I'm kind of blown away, actually, the amount of time people will spend in our stores. So they'll come and drink coffee or have a beer. Or, we bake cookies so they can sit and have cookies. And people, it's just trying to make it comfortable and like home. And it's a reaction to the heavy pressure sales environment that you see in a normal mattress retail store. So like we let people spend as much time as they want. We've just introduced making appointments so people can stay for a half hour if they want to take a nap or, God forbid, do something else. We'll experiment. Different cities will require different types of things. So LA is very different than what we have in New York, and it's a luxury we have to try different personalities for different locations.
Cool. Then anything, one or two from the crowd? Right there. And just start with your name and where you work, or go to school.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I'm a digital product designer at Grubhub Seamless. And my question is, how did you identify the people that you wanted to beta test with? And then, like, how many people did you find, and how did you convince them to become beta testers?
So we beta tested only with people we trusted. So it was a really close network, close friends, investors' friends. Siblings. It was not, we didn't swing too wide because we didn't want to show our hand too early. So it was maybe in the end, there were 20-ish people that were doing like repetitive beta testing with multiple models of mattresses. And then the feedback we got, I mean, again, because of the scale we could test at that time, it's just qualitative feedback. So we weren't getting real numbers, and like, I'm engaged in my fiance, like she hated me at the end because I would change the mattress every day, and some she loved and some she hated, and I would sometimes when it was time to go to bed, I would have to swap out back to the previous night's version because it sucked. And sometimes it smelled too bad, it was too hard or too soft, who knows. So there were some people that got more of the brunt of the testing than others. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. You want to do one more? Let's do one more.
How's it going? My name's Mark. I'm wearing a lot of different hats at a health and fitness startup right now. When I stopped by the showroom at Bond Street, I saw that you guys were like working with new materials and experimenting with new things. I was just wondering, if you guys are developing a new product, how does that fit under the one perfect mattress kind of message of Casper?
Oh, another product in addition to that product.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we'll have to make something new. I can say we're not going to make another mattress. So I think there's a lot in that sleep category. There's a lot of other broken product spaces and consumer experiences. where there's room for us to make something better and really simplify the shopping experience and the value people get for what they spend. I mean, the margins are wonderful on a mattress. The margins are extremely wonderful on a pillow. So there's a lot of room for us to make other types of sleep things that are, as simplified a purchasing experience as it is for the mattress. The caveat being, it's a huge challenge from a digital design experience of what the experience is when somebody comes to our website, and instead of just seeing everything driven towards one mattress story, if you have to do a mattress plus this plus that, it's the biggest thing we're undertaking right now is how do we actually transition to telling that story at the risk of losing, from a monetary standpoint, conversions and conversion rates that we get through this very simple and succinct story we have right now.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Cheers.
Yeah, that was great.